Welcome to another Microsoft Excel tutorials. In this video, I am going to share with you 3 important features in Microsoft Excel, and these features can easily equip you to organize your data in your worksheet. I have this data here in this worksheet which has the name of a company, that is Banahene Design Works, and its logo, and also have the description about this data, which is employee status. And in this data I have supervisors here, employee ID and employee name, and these are available in our main worksheet. When I move to this next worksheet, which is June worksheet, I have this employee name, and they have a training they partake in the month of June, and these training were based on Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Some partake in the Excel, some also partake in the Word, also partake in other programs such as OneNote and Zoom. And in the month of July, the same employees take another training, which are also available in the column of this training too. When you go to the August sheet, we also have this training they partake, and some partake in the Zoomer, Encounter, Windows graphical interface. And in the September worksheet, we also have these employees partaking in these programs or training in the month of September. Now, this workbook was sent to the manager of the company or the institution, and going through this workbook, he also insisted that we should go through all these individual worksheets and pull out the data that is needed and attach it to the main worksheet. And this is where our 3 features are going to be involved, and these features are the VLOOKUP function, the indirect function, and also the name range feature. So we are going to start with the name range, and a name range is where you select 2 or more cells and give it a name that can be easily used in a function or a formula, and this is going to help us to easily use our VLOOKUP and the indirect function. Now let's go back to our June worksheet, and this is the training partaken by these employees. And what we are going to do now is, when we go to our main worksheet, we are going to create a column header for all these trainings that were partake in the individual month. So what we are going to do is we select this cell and type, and now let's use the fill handle and drag this to get our June, July, August, September. So this is our column header, and this will also help us to use our indirect function to get our data needed in this worksheet. So now let's go back to our June worksheet, and we are going to give a name range to this data. So what you do is you select this cell, but before then, let's open our name range. When you go to the Formulas tab, we have this define names group, and we have name manager, and when you click on it, it says name manager, and we have nothing in this dialog box. You can also use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl plus F3, and that will also open the name manager dialog box. So what we are going to do is select all this data, then you can use the Ctrl plus F3 on the keyboard, and you can click on this new command, give it a name, and create your name range. And I'm going to make it very simple for you. After selecting all this data, move to your name box and select this A1 and type, then you hit the enter key. Now this range of cells has been given a name June. So if I select outside this worksheet, in the name box I have E10, and that is column E, row 10. But if I select all these cells, I have the cell address as June, and that is the name given to this range of data. And I'm going to do the same thing for July, August, and September. Now I have given the names to all this range of data. Now let's move back to our main worksheet. Before we can use our indirect function, the name range, and also the VLOOKUP, let's see how the VLOOKUP can help us to pull out this data into this worksheet. So let's start with the equal sign, VLOOKUP. Then you hit the tab key and it says lookup value. We are going to look at this employee name, and the VLOOKUP function works perfectly looking at the data from the left to the right in your worksheet. So if your data is not well organized to help you use the VLOOKUP, you are going to have some complications, because that is the downside of the VLOOKUP function. You can't choose any column within your data. The moment you want to use your VLOOKUP function, you have to make sure you start looking from the left to the right within your data. And in this different worksheet, we have the employee name and the training they partake. So this employee name is at the left side of this June column, and this is where the formula is going to be found or situated. So we are going to look at from the left side to the right. So this will be our lookup value, and what I'm going to do here is to fix the column and release the row. So I can use the F4 on the keyboard, and that is going to fix both column and row. Press it once again and press it once again. Now we have fixed this column and release the row. That is when we are going to drag this formula down. This is going to keep the function under column C, but the row will change from C5, 6, 7 and onwards. So now that we have the lookup value, let's bring our comma, and the next argument is table array, and this is where we are going to input our name range. So we are going to start with the June. So you type June, and the moment you type June, we have this drop down list, and we are going to double click on June. We bring our comma, and the column index is, we want the training they partake in the month of June. So that training is located in, this is column 1 and this is column 2. So let's go back to our main worksheet, and we are going to type 2. You bring your comma, and we want an exact match. We are going to select this first, close the parentheses and hit the enter key. Now we have Excel Word. When you go to June, the first training is Excel Word, and this function, when pulled down, you are going to have all this perfectly as it is in the month of June. Now look at the downside. If I move this formula to this different column that we have here, you can see that we have the same function in this individual columns. Therefore, it is generating the same content in this month of June. So if you want to make some changes in this individual columns, what you have to do is you select the cell, move to the formula bar and change this to July. You double click, and when you hit the enter key, you have your perfect content. So when I move to the month of July, I also have this here. So you have to apply that to the remaining columns. You go to the formula bar, change this to August, then you hit the enter key, and this one too, you go and change this to September, then you hit the enter key. So you have to go through all this and change the name range in this formula, and this is where the indirect function is going to make it very simple for us. So let's see how this can be done using the VLOOKUP, the indirect function and the name range. So let's delete all this content. Now under column D, beneath the month of June, you type equal to VLOOKUP, and this is our lookup value. Let's fix the column, then you bring your comma. Now the table array, this is where we are going to type our indirect function. So let's type indirect, and the indirect is asking for your reference text, and we are going to use this column header, which is the June. And because we have our name range, that is the June name range, and we are going to use all these column headers to generate our individual trainings partake by these employees. So we close this parenthesis for the indirect function, then we bring our comma, and it says column index. This is where we type the column number, which is 2. Then we type our comma, and it says range lookup, and we want the exact match, that is the exact data under the second column. So we are going to double click on this first option, then we close the parenthesis. Now look at this. When we hit the enter key, we get the exact data in this cell as compared to the month of June. Now if I drag this down, I get this error, and this error is obtained because in our function we have some errors which we committed. So to fix that error, move back to our first cell with the formula, then we double click, and when we come to the indirect function, we have this D3 and this is D3, and because we want to pull out all the trainees under June, we have to fix the row number and release the column letter. And to do this, when we fix the row number, it means that this D3 will move to E3, F3 and Gen3, and when we put the formula down, that is where it's going to move from D4, E4, F4, Gen4, and this is going to look up to whatever data that is under the second column and pull out all this data into this individual cells. So we go back to this indirect function, use our functional key F4 to fix the row number and release the column letter. So we select this and hit the enter key. Now when we copy this formula down, you can see now we have all these trainees under the month of June. For you to get all these trainees under the individual month, what you can do is use the shift key and the right arrow key to select all these, then you hold Ctrl+R on the keyboard, and that is going to generate all the trainees under the individual month. So you can see that this is perfectly done by using the VLOOKUP and also the indirect function as well as the name range. One thing you have to note is that I can easily go to this worksheet, select all this, copy and come to the main worksheet and paste it under the column header, and that is going to be a static data. And this kind of function used here is very dynamic. So if I go back to this worksheet and there is a change in this worksheet, that is going to affect the main worksheet. Now look at this employee, which is Jade, and Jade partake in Word in the month of June. So if I go to the month of June, I have Jade here and he partake in Word. Therefore, if I change this program to another program, that is going to affect the main program in this worksheet. So let's look at how this works. So if I select this and change this to and I hit the enter key, if I go to my main worksheet, I can see that Jade has been updated to PowerPoint. So this is very dynamic. Your manager can have this worksheet, and if anytime there is a change of program in this worksheet, you can easily do that here, and that is going to take effect in the main worksheet of your manager. This is how to pull all data in different worksheets into a single worksheet using these 3 features shown in this video, which are the VLOOKUP, the indirect, and also the name range. Hope you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up and let me see your comments in the comment section, and I shall see you in the next video.